Handle Your High with Tadayoshi. All right, welcome back to Handle Your High with me, Tadayoshi. I got my good friend and longtime client, but also master NLP sort of practitioner, hypnotist of sorts, Dickens Fenelon. And he owns a company. You own a consulting company called Peak Performance with Dickens. And you counsel people. It's very much kind of like, it's not life coaching, but and I didn't even know you did this. You and I worked together for like a decade. Like I've helped you with diets and getting ready for contests, and you're a wonderful bodybuilder for people who know you for the bodybuilding world. But I didn't even know you did this until we talked not too many weeks ago, and so I invested myself into this process of doing some NLP. What would you call it?
NLP coaching, hypnosis, timeline therapy. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
So basically what NLP, which is neuro-linguistics programming, right? It's the general title. There's a lot of stuff that encompasses, lots of different modalities, lots of different practices, lots of different things. It's essentially from what I've taken some courses on NLP, and I still am right now. I'm taking some sort of online courses to familiarize myself with some of it, and I come to find out that I naturally was doing some of this in some of my research, and although I wouldn't term it NLP, but I guess I should say the philosophies and the constructs that I usually employ in a lot of my coaching I use some of this stuff. I didn't even know it, except not quite so professionally like you do. Like you have very specific modalities how you walk people through, especially with like we went through some timeline therapy and different things. And essentially these are ways to get rid of, really to tap into your subconscious and to understand how you're organizing it, right? How your subconscious organized, what priorities you have, and then of course, how to replace some of those limiting beliefs. Because, and I know this from my own research over the years, and I talked to a lot of my clients about it, that it's our beliefs that hold us back or that push us forward. A lot of times, and I talk a lot about being a champion, and what it takes to be champions, and people love it when I talk about it. I should do more videos on it, but and I use Phil Heath and other people as examples because they're great examples that when you are a champion's mindset is very different than the average athlete, the average person. It's somebody who really excels in industry or in athletics, especially athletics because it's so competitive, but in anything, even relationships, it's very different. It's a person that assumes a certain outcome, even if they don't see conditions present to support it. And that's the person, they're living in and people say, you're living in your own bubble, Tad. Like, yes, my bubble is a happy bubble. So it's a bubble of joy. It's a bubble of love. So I tend to see life through this perspective, and it enables me to allow more of that into my life. So certain things from that nature are really easy for me, but other things are more difficult because I see things I have some limiting beliefs, like just like we all do. And so this kind of therapy, it's really a therapy that you could walk people through. And we did some timeline therapy, which is sort of like I think when we first went through it, I was thinking it was like time regression, but what you really do is you revisit some early emotional memories of sorts, and you track back, and there's certain exercises that we were doing that you sort of guide through this process, and then it really demystifies some of it and really helps at least it did for me. Like when we did it the first time, we went back and we talked, we looked at, and I didn't even remember the shit until we started doing it, about some early memories that I had when I was a kid of how that related to some of my fears in my relationships. Always feeling like they're going to leave me and this kind of thing. And then, and it was tracked back to some early memories of my grandfather when he died. And I know I did not connect these dots at all until we did this. And it was like, wow, man, this is fucking amazing. And then literally, like I literally could feel like a release. It was really one of the most amazing things that I've ever felt in my life from just a short, what we did, like 45 minutes session. And I was like, wow, that was pretty amazing. I really didn't know what to expect either. So, but tell everybody from your perspective what this is about, what you do, and maybe some things about some of this therapy that you've done with other people.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show, man. I appreciate it.
I love you, man. You're like my brother, man. You know that.
I know we've been friends for a long time. And you also been coaching me for a long time. And it's also a good testimony for me as well, because I'm telling you, man, and you've been in my life for a very, very, very long time. And really,
we've been through some shit.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm pretty candid on the show, so I tell everybody about my personal shit, and
Yeah.
I don't mind. But you know, I mean, dark times, lows and highs, and
Yeah.
and I remember actually when you first signed up with me, probably about a decade ago, and you were kind of heavier. And I remember your big concern was you wanted to be able to play with your daughter when she got older. And you felt like, hey, if I keep going down this road, man, I might get real fat. Turns out that you're a great bodybuilder, and we started competing, and fantastic bodybuilder. Got great structure, wonderful, and you still got pro card written on you. You're absolutely in line to do that. But it was just kind of funny that that's because that's happened to me a lot. But what happened? But in our instance. Most definitely, I have had this similar experience with other athletes that they become like family to me. But I just had no idea that you were getting involved in all this stuff. I remember you were going out to Australia and taking these courses and getting certified, and then you start working with people. Tell people what you do, like in your words.
Well, as a peak performance coach, yes, I am an expert in NLP. As a master hypnotherapist, timeline coaching. So when this stuff got introduced to me a long time ago, I just fell in love with it. Just like you said earlier, this stuff that we're doing every day, but you're not aware of it. You know, and then but once you're aware of it, you're like, wow, I can actually create my own future now. You understand that? You understand how powerful that is? So because now you're aware of things that you're doing every day that's affecting your future. And go from your past to the future, present, decision making that you make. You know, for instance, if I work with a professional business person who's getting ready to do a presentation, and he's got all kind of stuff going inside of him, like thoughts. Oh, I don't know if people's gonna like me. I don't know. I got these worried. You know, I got all this stuff, anxiety going on, and all that equals fear. That's what. And fear is okay to have that, because if you didn't have fear, then you wouldn't be human. You know, those are emotions, you know. So, but
we talk. There's a lot of this is based around emotional states too. So, and it's kind of interesting. So, fear. So, from your perspective, so I usually classify things into two camps when it comes to emotions. There's positive emotion and there's negative emotion, right? And for me, fear is a negative emotion. And I am always trying to minimize the negative emotions in terms of the duration that I feel. I don't want to get rid of them because I know that they're useful, but how do you classify fear and like all these what I would consider negative emotions? How do you see them? Like, I'm trying to minimize them always. Is that a good practice, or is it or
no? You know, it's fear. It's not healthy for your body. Remember, your unconscious mind it runs the entire body. It's preserves the body, protects the body. It's pretty much in charge of the body. So if your unconscious mind and your unconscious mind connect with your conscious symbolic. So whenever it doesn't process negative very well. So fear is not something. It's definitely not a good thing to hold on to. You know, at the unconscious level. Yes, you're going to experience it, but the best thing to do is to not hold on to it. You know, and gotta let it go, because the minute you hold on to it, it creates all type of stuff to your body, all type of disease, and it really it's not healthy to do that. So, right. But are you moving forward? Are you supposed to go through fear and all type of emotion? Yes, of course. But how you handle it is the way to go to prevent all type of problem. Because once you have fear, like for instance, a lot of successful people think when they look at them, they're like, wow, this person must be perfect. You know, but no, they're not perfect. They went through fear as well. They have the same thing you have going on. They just have a way to deal with it, to move forward and become more successful.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, because I think a lot of athletes, but also a lot of successful people in other arenas talk about pressure and fear and all these sort of what I would consider negative emotions, and how they like my girlfriend, for instance, very successful. She's a doctor, and we've had this discussion. I never quite understand exactly, like I didn't agree with how she termed it, but I totally get it from this perspective that she would say, I love stress because it makes me feel like it pushes me. pushes me. Like she feels like when she's under the gun, she can like push herself harder. And I've heard other athletes talk about this too. I like being and when I remember when I was in school in college, I remember studying athletic performance. And when you look at athletic performance, it's like a bell curve. As stress goes up, pressure goes up. When pressure on the athlete, pressure to do well, maybe it's in a game setting or whatever. When as the pressure goes up, and performance goes up with it until you hit a certain point. And then when there's too much stress, performance goes down, and then it starts to. And so that I'm always you want to hit it right. Because so in my mind, I'm always thinking, what's my threshold, right? So I guess these modalities, the way we deal with this is a way to keep it from tipping over, right? Like,
right. Absolutely. No,
I've never liked feeling stressed, by the way. I've never liked feeling like a lot of, like, I just don't like it. Like, it makes me feel very uncomfortable. I like feeling at ease. Maybe it's the Hawaiian in me. Maybe it's but I like feeling laid back and like at ease. But I have been told throughout my life, especially when I was in industry, but everywhere, like, oh, Dad, you got lots of energy, and I'm always sort of this, like, and I guess to a certain degree that could be part of it. That's probably why I don't feel like I need that stress to push me. I'm the guy in the gym who, when I work out in the gym, I remember I had my first really great workout partner. His name was Craig Harrell. He was a big dude. And he really educated me on a lot of like drugs and all this stuff, and got me. And I was young. I was like 19, 20 years old at the time. And I remember we'd be in the gym and we'd be doing on the bench press. He'd be like, "Come on, Dad." And he'd be like yelling at me. And I'm like, "Dude, shut the fuck up." I'm like, if you smacking me, and I'm like, if you hit me again, bro, we're gonna go down in here in the gym. I'm like, I do not respond to that. Like, that just pisses me off. It does. Like, it does not motivate me. It's like my motivation has always been up here. Now other people, like, it benefits them. Like, you have people get around and like cheering them on. To me, man, shut the fuck up. Like, that's why I put my headphones on, and I want to be in my own world. But I have this natural, energetic sort of way about me. I could tap when I'm excited. You know it. If I'm not, you also know it. And pushing me is not going to
do. You also know that when you more connect with yourself at the unconscious level, you're in charge of all these states that you just mentioned. So if I want to be excited, motivated, all I got to do is tap into that state of mind and then be motivated in an instant. You see what I'm saying? So, and that's the problem when people start meditating, you start connecting with yourself, your inner self. Where everything is like self-worry, self-doubt, anxiety, motivations, all type of emotions. If you could connect with that on a day-to-day basis, you'd be very powerful. You're in control. So nobody can come into your mind and tell you what to do and really manipulate you. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. It makes perfect sense. When that's difficult, because I think what most people get affected by their own inner dialogue. It's almost never somebody else, right? Like, for me, I don't like hearing that external dialogue that much. But I have a lot of internal chatter. I don't know, because I'm not inside anybody else's head, but I always felt like maybe I have more than other people do. Maybe I'm talking to myself fucking way too much. It's like,
no, and it's a good thing. Don't get this wrong. It is a good thing to self-talk, because you're not ignoring this little voice that's talking to you, which is your unconscious mind. Right. And then the more you communicate,
as long as that voice is telling you good shit, right?
Well, that's yeah. If it's telling you good stuff, but that's why I said the more when you connect with it, you can reject the negative thoughts, because you're gonna get both of them. You're gonna get good and the bad. But that's from working with you. When I tell you, always ask your unconscious mind to process the good thoughts and delete negative ones, because you don't want to have because the more you start processing manifest the negatives over and over, it becomes reality.
Yes, because
it'll give it to you.
So my understanding is, and you correct me on what your understanding is, that a belief is just a thought that you continue to think, and how we generate beliefs is something that we're constantly, it's what's going on inside here. It's the thoughts that we think. So when you think a thought, like if I thought to myself, oh, I'm a piece of shit, oh, I'm worthless, oh, I'll never make any money, then I'm good. If I continue to say that to myself, eventually I'm going to believe it. And then once it becomes a belief, I just manifest it in my life, just in all ways, no matter what came to me.
I'll give you another example. For instance, let's just say we're going on stage to compete, or a professional person is going to give a speech, and he's got all these thoughts going on into his mind, self-doubt, worry. I don't know if people are going to like me. I don't know if it's got all type of stuff going on. Well, the minute you go on that stage with that thoughts, then that's what people see, because you have no confidence now.
Right.
You see, destroy your confidence.
Well, I tell people like competitors who compete when I'm judging at a contest, and they'll say they'll want feedback, and I'll say, well, almost always, with the exception of like even mostly the pros, when I'm giving them feedback, most of the you would think that most of them would have some of this down, but many of them don't, and it's not natural. So I can understand. I tell them, stage presence, man, like you need to look like you want to be there. You need to be confident. Exactly. You need to be confident, but more importantly, sometimes the missing link between first place and second place, or between getting yourself from the back of the lot to the front of the lot in a competition, is really all about projection. And I tell people this, like, you can feel like, here's like, maybe I get your 2 cents on this. At this last year's Olympia, between Phil, when Phil was on stage with Sean Roden, I could tell from the start, like I'm sitting there 20 feet from the stage, 10 feet from the stage. And as soon as I saw Phil walk out, I knew the energy was different. I knew it. I could feel it. The way he posed, and I said, and then when Sean came out, his energy was way fucking different. Like this dude, I could feel like this dude knew he was going to win before. I don't know if he really did know that, but I did talk to him, because he and I talked. I did counsel him a little bit over the last year on mindset, because he liked my perspective, so I gave him my perspective on some things, and he had some issues with not being very verbal in his relationships and stuff like that, not talking about his feelings, I think it was, and opening up and expressing some of those emotions, because you have to get that stuff out sometimes, right? Yeah, and so once he started doing some of that, and it helped him a lot, and I think he mended some fences in his own life and within himself, and it helped him gain confidence. Because everyone knew, like, well, he's got the materials to win any show. But will he? And many other pros are like that too. Many other top guys. But when he walked out, I could tell it was something like I knew. And he told me 6 weeks out. He sent me some pictures, like, oh look, and I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, he always looks good, But I said, are you good up here? And
you're exactly right. That's exactly what happened. Just like I said,
you can feel that. Energetically, you can feel that difference. And my question to you is like, or my comment to you would be, I can, as a judge, and this is the part that people don't understand sometimes, that when you're there, there's an energetic projection that athletes give and that people give. When I walk up to somebody and I talk to them, or when somebody walks up to me and talks to me, almost instantly I could tell something about them. Sometimes I could tell more, because some people are very guarded, but almost always, man, like you get a sense of energetic sense, like this person is a friendly person, and that's the way we term it, right? We say, oh, they're really friendly. Oh, that guy was really cool. Oh, he's really laid back. Why did he tell you he was laid back? Did he sit on the floor and lay himself back? No, it's the way that they come across. It's more than just what you say and what you do. It's an energy that you give off. It's a frequency that you emit, and you admit it when you're on stage. And a champion has a very different frequency than the guy who doesn't win, and that's what I picked up on. And I'm like, he's not going to win. I just knew it. I was like, man, Phil's... And I love Phil. And I think he's probably still, I think he's the best bodybuilder there is right now.
Yeah, he is. He's an amazing bodybuilder. Very great physique. I've seen him. But on your point, you're exactly right. And especially when you're doing business with someone, and the minute you build rapport with them, you could tell if the rapport is not the best rapport, you don't feel that energy, that you best bet to refer that person to someone else. Yeah. Because you're not going to serve them any better. Service that person, and it's going to give a bad repetition for your name. Because remember, people seem to forget 7% is only verbal communication. Everything else you just mentioned.
That's right.
Yeah.
So did you say 7%?
Yeah.
Okay, because I heard it was 10. I heard it was, but I believe it. I believe it. I totally believe it. I remember I took a class in college when I was an undergrad, and I was on public speaking. I loved it, man. It was extemporaneous speaking, so it was just talking. Of course, that's fucking what I do now. Like I do it all the time now. So I love it, and I love public speaking. I don't have a problem speaking in front of people. But I remember them talking a little bit about this, about what you were just saying about this nonverbal versus verbal communication, and I didn't get it at the time. I'm like, well, I'm just, but it's totally true. And then I heard other psychologists talk about this. They say where they were saying like, the percentage I heard was like 90%, but it doesn't matter what the exact percentage is. Really up there. Most of the messages that we receive from a conversation or from a person is not from what they say. And,
no, it's not. It's not at all. You know, and that's one thing that is so powerful when it comes to NLP. And I think I've shared some of that stuff with you before. And NLP is so crazy because a lot of times people will say one thing and their physiology
says another. Like when
totally different.
I tell you this, I always could tell, like, you know, and I've been really conscious of this because I'm a high communicator, right?
Yeah.
So somebody will come up to me talking, they'll say, if they're asking me a question or if I'm making an appeal to them, hey, would you be willing to do this? And they go, yeah, I'm not sure about that. I already know it's no. Like this your body language is telling me you're fucking not, like I'm listening to you, man. Yeah, go ahead, I'm listening. No, you're not.
Yeah,
you might be hearing my words.
That's the point I'm making. Like if someone contact me to work on relationship or do hypnosis or timeline therapy, whatever it may be, on business, the minute you sit in my office, I talk to you, I can build rapport with you through verbal or auditorio or in person. And if I feel like there's no good rapport there, then I tell you, listen, you know, I wish I could help you, but I know someone else who does the same thing that could be better help you because I can't.
Right.
You know, because we're not building good energy. Because it wouldn't feel good to take your money because I wouldn't help you. I wouldn't be able to help you.
It's kind of funny. I was talking to one of my clients she's a trainer, of course. I have a lot of trainers who I work with, and but she's just getting into the training business now. She's been doing this for a long time, but she's just now getting into actually do personal training and stuff. And she was asking my advice because I owned a gym and I trained people in the gym for many years. And of course now I just do the nutrition part. But the tactic, the selling tactic is the same. She's like, how do I do this? And she's like, I'm having a problem. I'm not really selling that much. And I said, first, you can't expect for you to be the right fit for everyone. But right. I said, I always do a couple things. And this is what I recommended to her. And the funny thing is, once I recommended it, she called me, we talked this week. She's like, oh, wow, I'm the top salesperson for this training packages in the entire country. I'm like, and she's like, in Canada. No, in 1 week, in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks worth of selling, she went from the last place to the first place. And I'm like, what? Out of a company, it's the largest gym, athletic club in Canada. It's a franchise, and she's like the top one now. And they're like, "Oh, wow, how are you doing it?" And this, and I'm like, and she's like, "I just did what you said to do." I said, and what I essentially told her to do was, I said, "Look, you need to make sure that they're ready for you. And if they're not ready for you, they may be ready for somebody else. But they're not. I am not the fit for everyone, and I know it. You know it. You know it when you talk to them." But I said, mostly, you just want to get past people's bullshit. It's okay that you're not the right fit, but most people, sometimes they're looking for you to convince them, and you're never going to convince them. Most people make choices, and you can tell me what you think on this. They make choices based on they make every decision based on emotions, and they justify it with the situation. So it's an emotional choice. I like this car, and it's the right price. But, but there's a lots of cars that are that right price. But you're but you're not making the choice. They justify it with the price, but the choice is made because they liked it, and liking is an emotion, you know. Yeah. And so we emotionally buy, and we justify it with by the situation. And so, what advice would you give somebody like a salesperson who, hey man, wants to sort of understand this better?
Well, I love this part. Let's just say that if I'm working with a salesperson, like you said, and I want you to be able to get to know clients. You know, first thing you have to ask the person before you really get involved in this. Just give them a compliment. Oh, that's a nice sweater you got on. How did you buy it? Did somebody buy it for you? And what you do when you're having the person elicit that decision making. So in other words, people make decisions through feelings, to auditorio. If I tell you, hey Tad, I know a place that sell that makes this, buy that makes this beautiful thing, and you're gonna like it. It's got the best price. Just because you hear it, your decision's already made.
Yeah.
And some people made decision through their feelings. So the point of asking, that's a nice, beautiful sweater, and I'm gonna ask you, how did you buy this? Did you buy it yourself, or was it a gift? And if they say they bought it themselves, so how did you pick it? Was it the price? So you having the person elicit, whether it's visual, auditorio, kinesthetic, so all that tells you, because we all use decision strategy for everything we do in our life. You see what I'm saying? So everybody have it differently. Some people have it eight visual, kinesthetic, auditorio.
So give me an example of each one of these, like a different, like visually or auditory.
For example, let's just say, you're selling a package, a nutrition package, right, to a client. And then, this person, the reason she's talking to you, she doesn't feel right. And the price sounds good. So her decision is going to come from kinesthetic, sounds good, the price, and then she make a decision. Okay. But she'll give that to you because remember, 7% of communication is only 7%. I'm sorry, 7%. So everything else is physiology, all the stuff that you ask. Or just really pay attention to the person, how they make decisions when you ask certain questions. And if she goes down to her stomach, that means she's getting that information to her feelings, And then if maybe the price sounds good, and then that goes for auditorium, So it's well organized, So
I can't help it but move this conversation to dating because I'm not really dating, but I have a girlfriend.
Oh, that's the dating. That dating was awesome.
I'm just curious, have you ever worked with people like on that? Because I would think that when you interact with people, you're really selling yourself. So I have to brag on you a little bit. Maybe it's not really bragging. I don't know if your girls watch this or not, but you seem to be able. You've always been able to do this really well yourself. Like since the decade that I've known you, it seems like you've been very successful at being able to turn heads. But and it's not because you walk around looking like Don Johnson or looking like some really attractive guy, although you're not a bad looking guy. But once you start talking to these ladies, they seem to get interested. They'll give you their fucking phone number. I'm like, you got a phone number? I'm like, fuck, how'd you get that? It's like, and you'll have 3 of them. I'm like, what? And you were just in the expo for 10 minutes. I'm like, how'd that happen? So did you, when you look back at you're after you got educated and stuff, what's the magic there? Because there people sell programs on how to pick up chicks and stuff, but
well, the thing is, first of all, you got to build rapport with the person. Once you build rapport, is number one. And a rapport, you could build rapport with somebody without even talking to them. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's like, for example, if somebody sits next to you and they scratching their head, as they're scratching their head, you scratching your legs. That's rapport. You actually,
I've heard of this mimicking tactic.
Yeah, so that's exactly, then right then and there, you're like, oh, shoot, okay, me and this person would definitely get along. That's all you need. And there was no verbal that was said, nothing between you and that person. So that's the first steps. So if you're working with a relationship or selling a package or whatever it is, then you start having this person listen to what's important to you about the relationship. You ask this girl, and she'll tell you, well, I'm looking for somebody.
Yeah, but what they say, half of what they say is bullshit, right?
Exactly.
She's like, I want a nice guy. You date nice guys? You date nice guys?
Yeah.
That's why how many times you been dating? Because my question to a person who dates nice guys, he's got to be funny and really nice. And okay, so that's been your criteria. Well, how you dated before? Yeah, lots of people. How come none of them worked? If they were all nice guys and they were nice and they treat you, how come you're not still with them?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you just now started to date nice people because before you were dating assholes? I didn't know they were an asshole. Oh, you didn't. So you can't make choices very well. You're not. I guess my point is that the intention is. I think our voice sometimes speaks our intention, like, I want to date a nice guy, and then we find out otherwise because what we're really looking for is something else, right?
Yeah, right. Well, what it is, sometimes it takes time to get to know each other. We don't really take our time to get to know each other, because we go by, which is normal, because what we do, we go by physical appearance first.
That's the first attraction. That's important.
Yeah,
it's important.
That's the first attraction, and then they left everything out. Like, for example, in relationship, when I was doing a couples therapy, you got most men are big picture, right? And then most women are more detailed. So, for instance, you got this husband, and I asked him, what do you want in this marriage? Do you want to save it, or do you want to? So you ask both of them, and if they both says yes, then then your job is to keep them together, right? So now you got some guy. Most men are big picture, meaning that if the wife come home, he asks you one simple question: "Hey, honey, how was your day?" All he wants to know, I had a good day or I had a bad day. But before you even say that, you just skip all that. And then you start looking at A, B, C, B, blah, 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 blah. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh, why you never pay attention to me? Because you lost him. Right. He's not looking for the big, he's not looking for the detail. Okay, so. What he wants the big picture first, and then his mind are consciously ready for the detail. But that's why you always lose a man in a conversation that a man that's most likely a big picture. He just wants to know, how was your day, good or bad?
Well, it's really funny you bring this up, because that's kind of that's like, my girlfriend will come home. She's a doctor. She's a physician, for people who don't know. And it can be stressful being a physician. She runs a clinic, and she's an occupational medicine, and she also runs an emergent care clinic. And so she's the main person there, head physician there. And she will come home, and I'll go, did you have a good day? Or I'll say, how was your day? Did you have a good day? Yeah. And she'll start, and she'll just boom, start off. And it's like, I get to hear all the stressful shit. And
but you zoom out.
And
right?
and she'll say, oh, you're not paying attention.
There you go.
She'll go, you're not paying attention to anything I'm saying. I said, yeah, you're right. I'm not. I don't want to hear about all that. I want
because what you were looking for, you wanted her to say, oh, I had a good day. And had she say, I had a horrible day, your mindset, like, automatically ready to take the details.
Right.
You would be ready to take all the details.
So it's kind of like a funnel. You want to start with the most general and then get specific. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the point.
I tell you, I would probably, when you say it like that, because I never thought about it like this, but I know that I would probably respond better if she'd say, I had a stressful day and here's why. Then I'd be like, I would probably be all ears. But instead,
that's exactly what you do.
So what ends up happening is this, and I'd like to hear your feedback on this. What ends up happening is I end up going, look, honey, I don't really want to hear about all the stuff you want to complain about.
And that's what believe it or not, that create a lot of divorce. It create a lot of relationship issues. And I'm telling you that, and from my perspective as a coach and talking from couples, and that's exactly what happened with relationship. Because the women that start thinking, okay, this man doesn't care about me, because he's just not paying attention.
That's the funny thing. I really do care.
I know you do, but that's the problem. And she cares too, but it's just both communicating in a different way.
Absolutely.
So your job as a coach is to get them to communicate, because you both want the same thing, but in a just different way. You're going at it. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you just have to get them aligned together. So, okay, when he says this is what he really means. And the way to get to talk to him, this is what you have to say. And the way to do this, and all that stuff. And then you get them aligned.
So my guess is that this changes based on the couples, right? Like or in general, are most men like this? And most women like this?
Most men, yeah. In general, most men are big pictures.
Okay, yeah, because I'm going to say, yeah. And she gets frustrated with this. I'm sorry, I'm going to adjust my
most men, yeah.
There we go. I like to see my microphone on my I'm very much a principle-oriented person and a big picture. So I want to see big picture, and then I want to crystallize down.
That's every man. Pretty much most men. I would say good 96% of men are like that. It's majority, all of them.
So in general, how are women usually?
They're mostly detailed. They want to tell you the little stuff.
that's the fucking weirdest shit, man. I'm like, because I get lost, man. I'm like, man,
but some women are big pictures too. Don't be honest, but it does. You will find a few that are big picture, but most of the time, in most marriage relationship, I'm telling you, and what I've experienced working with couples, it's usually the man is a very, very big picture. You just want to come home and say, okay, things fine, family's good, kids are fine, and then he's ready to take the small detail.
Right, exactly.
And the minute you start telling him a whole bunch of little tiny stuff, you just lose him. He's not paying attention. He fell asleep.
I mean, would you characterize it like framing? Because this is the way I characterize it. The way when I hear you say it like this, and it makes perfect sense to me. And this is the way I would probably tell my girlfriend. Say, look, if you just give me the general first, frame the problem first. Oh, I had this problem today with this person, and then go into it instead of just bang, 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 and like all these little things and all this. And I'm like, whoa, man, like who's? And I'm always asking questions like, who is that again? Who the fuck is this bitch? Who's this? Well, I don't get it. Why is this a problem? I'm like,
no, it really is, man. It's so now that and then you gotta also talk to the guy and really make him understand her perspective as well, and how she's very emotionally expressing that to you. So
my girlfriend is not.
Well, in your case,
I am. I'm the guy who's like, I want to talk about feelings and shit, and I want to, and that's just me. That's. But I think in general, and maybe I'm an anomaly because in all areas, because it seems like in my case, I'm trying to think back. My first wife, my second wife, all my girlfriends in between, with the exception maybe of one, they were all the opposite of me in many ways. In just this one way, and that is that I was the communicator, or maybe I'm just because I know I'm an over communicator, so I know that it's not a negative thing. It's just I communicate deeply, very heavily. I like to talk about everything, and so just because I want clarity, and I think they were not. Both my ex-wives as well as most of my girlfriends, they didn't even really know how to express their feelings at the level that I can, the detail that I can. I've examined myself immensely and intensely from the time that I can remember, because I got in the habit of it from my mother, and it was important to her for us to understand our feelings and to be able to deal with those things correctly and well, and demystify some of that stuff. So for me, I end up being the one who's like that in the relationship, and so I've never heard that. Oh, I want to talk. Let's talk about this. And no, I'm the one who's saying that shit. I'm the one who's like going, I want to talk about this, man. Like let's get this. I mean, I don't need to. I think probably my second wife would have probably told you I probably beat those dead horses a little bit too much. Like I probably overdid some issues. So how do you know how much is enough?
Well, sometimes it depends on who you're dealing with, and you have to try to get, everybody's different, everybody's receiving information differently. And if you take your time to get to know, because here's the thing that sometimes when you're talking to somebody, if I'm talking to you right now, right, and whatever I'm saying is not getting through, it's not the person that you have to blame. It's you. I blame myself because the reason I'm blaming myself because I haven't communicating hard enough for you to get me. So I can't just give up. I got to keep trying, because in your world, in my world, I might be my level of communication might be this high, and I'm dealing with somebody that level of communication is this low. So you have to know when to chunk up and down. You see what I'm saying? So if the person receives communication you're talking to, their communication level is this high, and you're a very intellectual person, and you this high, you cannot expect that person to reach you up, reach up. So you have to get
reach,
to know
bitch,
that.
Reach.
Exactly. So then that's when they create this problem. So you have to say, okay, so I know how she receives information. So now for her to get me, I have to jump down to her.
Yeah.
And then the minute you do that, trust me, you're like, it's gonna work like magic. You're like, wow.
Well, I remember one of the problems I had in my last marriage was I didn't try to do that, but I would try to communicate with her, and my solution was just to keep going. just to keep banging on her until I basically just wore her down until she probably fucking divorced me. But
the goal is, what's the goal, Tad? The goal is to understand you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense if you keep going at something and
it's not breaking in. Yeah.
It's not exactly.
Well, she wouldn't want to give up. She would want to like not talk about it, and I'm like, that didn't make any sense to me. But I get the frustration. I eventually backed off because it just wasn't working, and so I'm not going to keep doing something that's not working. But I remember, what do you do with somebody? Because one of the problems I've had in a couple of my relationships was that they couldn't talk about their emotions very well. And they were honest about that. They knew that they weren't good at it. And they would say things like, and this is important to me because it was so foreign to me. It's still bizarre to me when somebody says, I don't know. I understand that you may not know how to communicate a feeling. Like if you say, how do you feel about this? Well, I don't really know. Like, okay, well, can't you talk about it a little bit? And this, I don't know how to put it into words. To me, that sounds foreign, but it's just because I've had so much experience examining my own feelings. I could always put it to words. I could always put shit to words.
Sometimes it could be who you're dealing with. That person is protecting their feelings because of lack of fear or whatever happened in the past. They just they want to protect it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's very hard to start talking about this.
It always felt like to me that they didn't want to face it. Sometimes they were protecting, but sometimes they just like, man, like, I don't like the way that feels, and I'm not going to talk about it.
It's called, they're protecting it. That's all. They're protecting it because of whatever they
so is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
Well, it depends. It depends. I'm not saying it's a good or bad, but if you want to move forward, you want to create your future and have. Because what you're doing, you're blocking good energy coming to you. So in a way, it is bad because if you're not facing your past, you want to let go of all that stuff. So you move forward, because when you move forward, you're creating a future, because like I said to you many times, because the universe has so much to offer to you. And it's offering a lot of good stuff moving forward. But because you bring your baggage with you everywhere you go, and this man was like, what are you doing with this baggage? I don't want you.
Well, that brings up a good point. When people look at their lives in terms of problems, and especially when it comes to relationships, people have issues. We all have relationship challenges and issues and things like that we have to overcome. But I find that there are no new fucking problems in a person's relationship. These are the same problems. As long as if you've had other relationships, you're experiencing the same problems over and over and over again until you fix it.
That's a great point. That's what I said to you. That's exactly what I mean by baggage.
Yeah.
Because you never let go of that past.
But the funny thing is, the screwy thing is that in every case that I can see, that they always they don't blame themselves. This is like, you have this, and I just want to say, hey, look, I see this problem that you've had historically, and you're having it again. But they want to blame the person. It's this person. They're doing this. This is going on. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. You can't do anything about that person. Like, you can only fix yourself. But I know this one truth, and that is you are the common denominator in every single one of these relationships.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
If you're having a problem in your relationship, doesn't it go to the logic that you're the problem? I don't care what he's doing or she's doing. You're still a big piece of this problem, right? Like, if you're.
Well, of course, that's one thing when I work with somebody. That's the first place I have to put you in a position to understand that you create the problem. Because I can never work with somebody that before you work with someone, you got to take him from the cause and effects. You know what I mean? So the two part is that one part you create the problem, the other part is you pointing fingers. Everything that happens to you, because someone else did it. So your job is to move that person from that level to another level. Because once you own that problem, that you create the problem, then you're ready to change. Yeah. Exactly. Then you're ready to change. But until then, you could be living to the age of 90.
Well,
you still.
And I think and you tell me what you think, but I think the reason for the repetitive nature of people's problems, and this goes beyond relationships. This is like career problems, money problems, any issue, any challenge we face in our life, any obstacle. And most people most people, I'd say 99% of people that I know, when they hit an issue in their life, they know the reasons why. They go, oh, it happened. This is happening because of this. I don't have enough money, or this person did this to me, or this person, I didn't get this job, or this person was better than me, or this, but it's never here. It's never, and so because of that, I find that like they repeat these things and then they want to change them. How do you get people to realize that, because this is the way I see it, I correct me if I'm wrong, that they're just fucking lying to themselves. All you're doing is bullshitting your own self. And you're you're so good at it that you can literally believe that this world is out to get you.
Well, speaking of that, have you ever watched commercials, televisions? Commercials. Of
course.
Okay, have you ever watched attorneys like listen to, they say, if you hurt yourself, you're slipping for a call 1-800, we're gonna get you money.
Meanwhile, whatever it is.
Meanwhile, there was a sign that says, "Don't cross this. The floor is wet, but you slip and fall." Right now, you're gonna sue me.
Right.
So, what I'm saying, the point I'm making to you is that the entire world, the entire universe, that's how it operates.
Right. This is exactly the way it operates. Yeah.
Movies, commercial, radio, talk ratio. So everybody, 90% of the world, 95 or 96, everybody are on the effect side. Everything that happens to them, someone did it.
Right.
You could be at the age of 90,
good or bad.
You still blaming your mom that didn't put you to college.
Right.
You still blaming your parents for that.
Good point, because I think that our court system that's its modus operandi, right? It's like when you build a case of defense, the defense is not you, it's somebody else's fault, right? It's where do we place blame? And I'm of the mindset that says, look, in this life, if it's you, you're the blame. I saw this great shirt that said, it's my everything in my life is my fault. I'm like, fucking beautiful. Everything in my life is my fault. Good, bad, and indifferent. It's all my fault. I may not like it, and other people may be involved. But it's my fault from the standpoint that I am involved. It's me. It's my life. And the only way it's going to get fixed is if I change it. Like, right? Am I?
Yeah. Yeah, so those decisions are made conscious.
But how do you get... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So some of these decisions, you don't want to go ahead and tell people that stuff. What I usually say is the reason you are where you are today, right? Because decisions that were made consciously and unconscious. Because you have two minds. Some of the decisions you be making, they're unconscious, you're not aware of. And that leads you to where you are.
Right.
You understand? So when you connect with yourself, once you own the problem, you're in control of your unconscious mind. You can lead you to good stuff. Understand yourself.
I want to talk about the unconscious mind in a couple seconds, but I want to ask one question about how do you get people to recognize their own bullshit, to stop lying to themselves? How do you get that? Because, man, I'm telling you, I will ask people as a coach, as a nutrition coach, I'll say, they'll say, oh, I know what to do. I hear this commonly, like, oh, I know what to do. I just need accountability. That's the rationale they're using to hire me. I get it. I understand. But the truth is, when I look at what they're doing and I hear what and I know who they are and what they're doing, you don't know what to do. That's the reason why. But I get it. I don't argue with them because maybe I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong. But my point is that it's little stuff like this. It's little lies that we tell ourselves that we believe, that we just bullshit ourselves. Like, how do you get someone to recognize that it's your bullshit? It's your own faulty dialogue within your head that is really messing you up. It's literally blocking you from being able to see your own problems. You can recognize that you don't like the consequences of your life, but you don't realize that the consequences of your life are due to you, right? We are in control of our thoughts and our actions, and it's because of those things that life interacts with us. And when we get a consequence we don't like, we go, oh, it's because of this thing that I interacted with, this person, place, thing, job, whatever. But in reality, that is a piece of it, but it's not there are a million other people that do the exact same things and get an entirely different result. And why is that? And people say, oh, it's because it's them. Or exactly. It's like, so my point is, how do you get people to really break down some of those internal barriers of that? And I call it bullshitting. Like, because I really made, when I was 30, I really had like an early midlife crisis, and I was determined to really, really self-correct myself. And I made 3 promises to myself, and I've stuck to those promises. And one of the first promises I made was I promised myself I would never lie to myself again. Never. I said, even if I didn't tell anybody else, I would never fucking bullshit myself. If I wasn't good at this, if I was falling down the job on this, or if I was not doing what I thought I should be doing, I was not going to, or if I didn't feel a certain way, I was not going to lie to myself, not going to bullshit. So how do you get people to cross that barrier, not to bullshit themselves, not to lie to themselves, or let alone recognize it?
Well, one of the analogy I like to use, and which works great. So think of a circle, right? Inside a circle is your whole entire life, right? Your whole entire life. But the only person who built that circle, you build
my
it.
Bubble. That's my happy bubble.
Right? So inside that circle, you have fear, you have self-doubt, you have worry. You don't like yourself. There's a lot of things you have. Yeah, that's going on inside that circle. You have family, all that stuff. But everything you want, everything you ever want to make your life better is outside that circle, right? So the minute you try to step out your foot outside the circle to get what you want, but it's so uncomfortable, you're not comfortable, you flip out, so you go right back in. So to answer your question, the only way to move someone to understand everything that, is their fault, you have to bust that circle open.
Okay.
And really open that door and create, okay, today I want to change. Everything I want is outside that circle. I can't continue to live like this no more, because everything that I did in that circle, I created it, right? But everything I want is outside that circle. How do I reach outside?
So
you have to get up and go. So the person have to be willing to change.
So how do you break that? How do you break that barrier? Because I just find it very.
You have to be willing to change.
So I think people would agree that they want change, and they're willing to accept change, but they're not willing to accept the responsibility of why they're not changing.
That's when you know the person's not willing to change. If you're not willing to own it, that everything you did, you own it, you create that, you build that life, you're part of the decision, or the decision that was made, you're part of it. Whether it's conscious and unconscious, the minute you accept that, you're ready to move forward. Because the longer you stay in that circle, you know what happened? You on autopilot, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody on autopilot because
I was just I have this conversation a lot with people, and I say, look, we are the only creatures on this planet that consciously evolve. We consciously evolve, and which means that through our own thoughts and our own actions, but specifically our thoughts, through our own intention, we say, I was a skinny kid. I'm gonna be huge when I get, and so I consciously made the decision to adapt to bodybuilding as a lifestyle, to learn about it, to work out, to eat right, take my vitamins, do all the stuff that we do in bodybuilding. And I built a physique, and now people look at me, they think this is the way I shot out of my mother's womb. No, I didn't. It took me 34 years to get to where I'm at today, but it was a conscious decision. And if you look at, and I am an exceptional example because I have an identical twin brother. And when you look at him, you look at me, you can definitely tell a difference, especially when I was a lot bigger, when I was competing. But even today, you can see a difference in how I have consciously evolved my physique, just my body, but also my life. So I consider my life as well an entity in itself. My life is a growing, evolving, changing entity. And I've cultivated it, I've grown it, I've destroyed parts of it. I've done all kinds of things, and I'm looking to always change it and modify it and add new things to it. So when I look at but I think a lot of people, for me at least, I find this is the way. I mean, this is the sort of architecture that I work in, right? And so, but I really think of our lives as this entity. I think of us as evolving creatures, and what I find really amazing about our experience here in this life is that we get to do this consciously. Dogs and tigers and lions and bears and stuff like that, they don't evolve consciously. They evolve unconsciously. They respond to their environment. That's responsive. Right. And so when you can't get out of that, like when you're talking about getting this bubble, when you can't get out of your sphere of whatever it is, you're not going to evolve, right? You're not going to change. Your life is going to stay the same. And
some of us die in it, man. Some of us live.
Well, and I tell people, when I talk about it, I talk about, look, we consciously evolve. And in order to do that, it means that you have to step outside of that bubble. You have to step out. You have to say, hey, that means you got to do different things. And guess what? They're going to feel uncomfortable. Guess what?
Exactly. That's the point. Because you never live outside.
It's not going to feel right.
Yeah, you never feel outside. You never live outside that circle before, so it's not comfortable. It's very uncomfortable. Yes. So, but that's what you have to do in order for you to create your life and live better and express and just explore more stuff. You know, I don't know if you heard me say this to you before. Mice are smarter than human beings.
No. I want to hear this though.
Yeah, because if you ever lock a mice into a room, and the mice will do anything possible to get out, to escape, because its main thing is to get out, to survive. But if you lock a human being into a room, right, they will get up and say, okay, let me open that door. Oh, okay, it's locked. Let me go back down. Let me go sit down and wait till someone opens the door for me. And they'll get up. It's like, okay, and then start crying, say why life is sucks, why things are not working my way, things are bad, they start blaming everybody, and they'll get up again, open the door, it's locked. But the mice won't do the same thing. The mice will do whatever, even if you have to dig a hole.
They'll fucking eat through the wall, man.
It's not to the wall to get out. That's the point. The point is nobody turns backs away from you. You have to get up and bust that door open. When you bust that door open, you know what happened, Tad? You see, now there's no limit. The universe is infinite.
Right.
You can keep going
as
you want to.
I like this. I like this analogy, and what I think is kind of funny, and I think you're spot on. The funniest thing. So like when I really, really like the idea. There's actually a movement of conscious evolution going on where people have termed this conscious evolution. I really like it. But I do know this when it comes to evolving. If you aren't in your bubble, like you said, and you're not going to change it. Like you said, some people die. They live and die in the same state, right?
Yeah.
And they don't want to be there, right? They don't want to. How do I get outside? How do I do this? And they always want to do something. The problem is, and so this is what I'd like your 2 cents on is. Everybody wants to do. But I always spoke, and I do believe that we need to do some things. Like if I wanted to get bigger, I need to go to the gym. I got to go work out. I got to eat this food. I got to do this. But I would never be able to complete those tasks. Never be able to see it to its end. Never be able to realize the dream of being the bodybuilder that I've become if I didn't believe it. There's this emotional, mental state of being. I really believe that you have to. I say this about being a champion. Like I've talked about Phil Heath in this way because he exemplifies this really well. So did Jay Cutler. So did so many other great people who achieved really wonderful things that they knew they just knew with certainty. Look, I don't have the title now, but I have it in here. I already have it. It's just time. I watched Joe Rogan had Mike Tyson on his podcast recently, and I did not know this part about Mike. I loved Mike Tyson. I think he was awesome as a boxer. He's an interesting guy, but I'm trying to get him on my podcast on this show, by the way. I have some friends who know him, I guess, but when he was 15 years old, Customato picks him up off the street, right? He starts to work on boxing, I didn't know this story. He said, yeah, he's telling all of his friends, we're going out to the gym and we're working out. And he's saying, this is going to be the next heavyweight champion of the world. He's going to be awesome. He's awesome. He's going to terrorize people. He's going to destroy everybody. And he says, and Mike's like, man, I was like, hey, why are you telling people this, man? I couldn't understand why he was, I couldn't beat anybody at that time. And he's like, and when he was 15 years old, he was being hypnotized. He said, Cuss would bring in this hypnotist, and he would hypnotize, and here's what I know now after working with you, they were implanting things in his subconscious. He said everything that was going on would be like, you're going to destroy the competition. You're a maniac. You're going to kill everybody. Blah, 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 blah. And then of course he starts fighting, and I've watched many of his fights, like 40 something fights of his. Like this from the time he was from amateur, and he didn't have much of an amateur career, but man, he just walked through people like literally like 30 seconds, 12 seconds, minute in the ring. He's crushing people and it's like, and you could just see it then I look at the later footage when he gets beaten and when he's later in his life, when he really doesn't, and that's my point. He doesn't feel like the champion anymore. He's just doing it for the money. And so now, guess what happens? Buster Douglas knocks his ass out. Other people, he really is challenged. He beats some people later because he is kind of a superior boxer, but he never has that same really tenacity, that same sort of prowess in the gym or in the ring. And I've always thought it's because, man, in the first part of his career, the majority of it, but the first part of his career, he really had this really wonderful mindset of really, I am the champion. I'm going to crush these people. I'm going to crush this guy. Whoever he's against, I'm going to crush him. I'm going to destroy them in the gym or in the ring. And I say the same thing about like Phil Heath. When you talk to somebody like that, especially when they start talking about their victories or they talk about their upcoming fight or their upcoming competition, what's going to happen? They go like, I'm going to kill everybody. Like, we want our champions to be humble, but champions aren't humble because from our definition of humility, our definition of humility says that we don't elevate ourselves. But that's what we're trying to do. You're trying to elevate yourself above the competition. So in order to do that, you better speak it, you better think it, you better feel it, you better know it, in order to live it. So when I hear this thing, we talk about the bubble and getting outside this sphere of where you're at, you gotta be out here in here first. That's how you, in my mind, that's how you break through. And that's a state of being. Once you hit you exist there in your heart, you feel it. Once you feel like you're gonna win, it's just a matter of time. You may have to still line up some elements to get there. Your physique, your whatever, but that's the small stuff. That's the small stuff. So and I get the impression, really that's what you're doing. You're helping people line up with the state of being by taking out some of that extra stuff that's not working for them.
Yeah, one of the biggest state people usually go into is two things actually: failure and fear. So, and for me, I always tell people it's okay to fail. There is no such thing as a failure. Failure is a feedback. You know what I mean? You have to fail. It's a feedback. You're gonna fail, and then you learn from it. You get back up and try again.
Well, there's a great there's lots of studies done about champions and how they view failure. And I read when I was 15, I read this really great psychological study they did with all these athletes. It was NBA superstars, and they were saying, and I wanted to know, not just NBA and baseball guys, and they were asking them, they interviewed them and did this study on what does it take to be a champion? Like, are there some characteristics that they all share? And sure enough, there were like 5 main characteristics that these psychologists identified, and really top on that list was none of them saw failure. They didn't identify failure as failure. They identified failure as an opportunity to learn something new, an opportunity to be better. Like as a matter of fact, I call it, and I think somebody else has termed this before, but like it's called embracing the suck, man. Embrace your suckiness, because the suckiness is what points you to the greatness.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's what's going to make you great at what you do.
So you got to be in love with it. You got to be in love with like fucking falling on your ass, and
Exactly. We've done many shows. A lot of times you don't see me when we've done a lot of shows. You don't see me come off on stage, and you always say this like, man, one thing I like about you is you never look pissed off, and all they win. But that's just me, because I know, for instance, I learned through the process, the journey that I took 3 to 4 months to get ready for a show. Even though I didn't do what I expected, believe me, it wasn't wasted. That was the best 4 months. Either I did it with my family, I got my daughter involved, or something I did. But whatever it was, I learned from it. It was the greatest.
Well, I was looking back at some old, just as a side note, I was looking back at some old contest pictures from you from early on until now, and if you can't see progress in this, then you're blind. Like if a person couldn't see, like the truth is that there is progress through failure, right? Like, and I'm just terming it that way because it makes it obvious. But I've said that over and over, and I've made a point to tell you that early on years ago, and I always make a point to tell any clients I have. I tell them, look, man, I really, really love the attitude, because I was like that. I didn't. I may not have been happy about the placing. You never would know it, because what is that? How is this going to help me move forward? To be pissed off. I see this backstage sometimes when I see comparison. By the way, you do have a wonderful attitude. It's something that I've truly appreciated, because I rarely see it I rarely see it in athletes. I really do. And I've known literally thousands of athletes over the years, worked with thousands of athletes, and maybe 10% have a good attitude about losing, but only 1 to 2% have a really wonderful progressive attitude like you do about being in those situations, because they see, and here's what I think, and here's the part that I would get your 2 cents on. The way I've always seen it is that it's because they've identified the loss with who they are, and not with what they do. It's like, I'm not good enough. No, that can't be right. And so they feel like shit. They're like, man, I've actually literally had people. I have a really wonderful competitor who I had years ago. We went to, dozens of shows. She won everything. Overall, I mean, we couldn't lose. Then we get her to the Masters Nationals. The first time was her first Masters Nationals, first Nationals period. And she gets like 9th place, or like the 7th or 9th place. She was devastated. Oh my God, she was devastated. And she ended up going off and taking another coach right after that. And I know it was because of this loss, because this other coach promised her, oh, I'll get you a pro card, blah, blah. And I don't make those kinds of promises to people, because it's not the point. But my point is that, and I felt bad, I'm still her friend, but I felt bad for her. But I was disappointed, because, man, I was like, man, you can't see how good you are. Like, your first time out, sometimes you just need a time or two. And I was right. I told her she'd get her pro card. It was just waiting to happen. But the point is that she got it exactly when I said she was going to get it. It took her about 2 more years. I told her, like, it's going to take you about 2 years probably. Just where your physique's at now and how you're progressing. This is where you need to be. And so, but we all want to blame something. And I don't know if she blamed me or not. I think that she just thought that maybe somebody else would help her more or something. I don't know how she could think that.
It was her inner problem. She's got her inner problem that she could deal with that. And then, but I hope that you didn't let her projection rub on you, make you feel like you were a bad coach, because
I didn't. Yeah. Her and I stayed friends and stuff. And I told her, I said, look, and she told me, hey, Dad, I want to go and go with this other coach, and I want to try something new. People say, I want to try something new. I said, look, do you feel like it's going to be good for you? Right. She said, yeah, I think it's the best. I said, okay, then go for it. I said, I only want people that want to be in my camp, man. Like, this is not about winning. It's not only about winning or having the best clients. And for me, this is about building great relationships. And that sounds cliche, but truly, the reason why I say that is because I want to fucking have fun. I want to love the people I work with, and I want to know that they're having that kind of attitude has some reciprocity, that we're both having a lot of fun with this stuff. I don't want to just like, I don't want to just win shows. I mean, I do want to win shows, but I don't want to just, and I'll tell you why. Because then I got a wall of accolades and no friends. It's true. I got a bank full of money, and I can't cuddle up to that at night. I can't. It's like, it doesn't do me any good. Now, don't get me wrong. I still would like to have a bank full of money and lots of wins on the board. But what I really want is the wonderful experiences and the really beautiful relationships that I have, and I have great ones. Like, I have people like you, and my oldest, longest standing client that I have, and this is not atypical, is over 20 years.
Wow. So
look, and he still competes now as a over 50 Masters. And I'm like, so look, and the reason why is because I do, and it's my emphasis is to put my emphasis on the relationship part. I want to be friends. I want to know you. I want to be able to help you in all the ways that I possibly can. That's just the way I'm built, right? It's just the way but not everyone's like that. I get it, which is what we go back to what we were talking about in the beginning, which is may not be for everybody. Like, some people don't want that kind of coach, right? Like, you may not want, exactly. You may not, maybe you don't want a friend. You don't want your coach to be your friend.
You know what?
I don't want, and I would I would say it like this in the reverse. I'm not matched up with somebody who doesn't want to coach for a friend.
Yeah, because sometimes you're gonna feel the energy too, you know,
Yeah.
and once you get the energy, then you keep it for what it is, you know,
So
and you don't want to force it. Just leave it the way it is, and that's it, you know.
So now let's go back to the one topic, because I think this is an important one, the unconscious mind, because you work with a lot of this, and it's the unconscious mind dictates so much of what we do, right? Like 90-something%. Right?
Yeah. The unconscious mind has a lot of
like it runs our life.
It runs the entire body, preserve the body. It does so much, man. Well, it's 90% of everything we do. The unconscious mind does it for you.
So it's 90.
You know, have you ever feel like let's say there's something that you've done a lot, right? Like driving to the gym, for instance. And there are times you got to the gym, you don't even realize how you got to the gym.
Yeah. I don't remember fucking making that turn.
Yeah, you're like, how did I make it? It's like I don't even remember making this side. I didn't remember.
So in many ways, this is kind of funny, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but in many ways, because and I want to make this point because it's important that people run their lives this way. They don't realize, and here's a great illustration of how powerful the unconscious mind is, I think, because it just dawned on me as you were talking about this, that people get down. I hear this so much from people. I've heard it so much from people in the past. Oh, they'll be like 65 years old, 70 years old. They're like, I don't even know how I got to this point in my life. Or maybe they're not even that old. They're like, wow, you know, it just seems like yesterday I was like just graduated from high school, and man, like I don't even know how I got here. And that's like, I mean, they know how they got here. They remember their life, but they don't. It wasn't like you said, I'm going to do this, and then this, and then this, and then no, you just unconsciously, in many ways, there's so much. It's all unconscious. And it's, what is it, like you said, 90%, right? Like 90%?
Yeah, 90%. Yeah.
So
that's why when we work with somebody, we work with them at the unconscious level, because it stores memories. It does everything, control, organize all your memories, and repress, you know, everything you can imagine.
I've always described it like this. Like your unconscious mind is really like you're the operating system of your life. And
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, because that's what it is. I mean, I came out of technology, and I'm like, that makes sense to me that when you have a computer or a device like a cell phone, there's an operating system on it. That operating system stores all the information. It organizes it. It does all these functions, and then it also executes actions. It executes applications and stuff. And you're constantly revising it. So I tell people, and you can tell me what your 2 cents is on this. When you talk to yourself in your head, your thoughts are the ways in which that you update your operating system. When you think stuff consistently and they become a belief, those beliefs get stored. That's in there, man. Like that is your operating system of life, just moving away. And so as you run through your life and you say, well, this is the way it is, man. Life is hard. You know, that's a belief. Okay. By the way, that's a belief. That's not a fact. That is your truth if you believe it, right? So
well, let me add to what you said. I'll follow along with you because I have a little background in computer technology as well.
Oh, that's right, you do. That's you got a degree in it.
Yeah. So, like you said, yes, it's an operating system, and think of your body as a robot. So if the operating system tells the robot what to do, then the body does it.
Right.
That makes sense.
It makes sense.
So when you go to a doctor, right? The doctor check you and say, yeah, listen, you're on the line to become diabetic. What the hell is diabetic? Diabetic is a medical term. And then you go home, you said to your family, I am diabetic. So now you saying I am diabetic. Then guess what your body giving you?
Diabetes.
There you go.
Well, it's the truth.
That's how the unconscious mind works, man. That's why I said to you, when you're talking to it, ask it to take over, to take it for preserve, protect the body, and really does the thing that it does for you, because they're unconscious, because when you tell it to do something, that, like if I tell you, don't think of a blue tree, I say use that with you before.
Fuck, man, I'm just thinking of blue trees, bro.
Yeah, because it doesn't process negative well. That's why
don't think about big tits. See, you just did. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
That's exactly what it is.
Now I'm thinking about big tits.
So when you say positive thing to yourself, you say, I am diabetic. Okay, guess what your conscious mind is going to do to you? It's going to give you that.
Right.
You got to be careful with certain things. You can't say I'm an asshole, I'm a horrible person.
So here's what I think people misunderstand about this. They misunderstand their intent, their desires. So like they do what they desire, and what they're telling their bodies or what they're telling their life to give them may be two different things. When you say things like, I would never want, most people would never want failure. They would never want to not be able to make the money they want, or not be able to have the relationship they want, or not be able to believe in themselves. Who doesn't want to believe in themselves, right? Like I ask that question to almost everybody that I work with. I say, are you positive and do you believe in yourself? And 99% of the time they always say yes and yes. Now it's because that's their intention. But in reality, the answer is almost always no, and they don't mean to. You say, are you positive? Like most people would say, I'm a positive person. Most people would say that. But most people that I meet aren't really positive. They're not really positive. Like they denigrate themselves. They speak poorly about themselves and others. When they see something, they go, oh, they're critical. They criticize, and they don't mean to be negative, but those are all negative facets.
Most people treat their unconscious mind worse than the dog.
Oh, I know. We justify it in our life. We say things like we're our own worst critic. But we don't have to be.
No, they have to be, because and people like
I
that.
want to be my biggest fan. I want to be my biggest fan, man. I guarantee you that Phil Heath is his biggest fan. I guarantee you, and he should be, and that's why he's won 7 Mr. Olympias.
Most successful people, they connect very well with themselves. On a different level. Yeah, absolutely.
So talk about that. Tell me more about that.
Because they know how to control fear. Like you said about failure, they know failure is you learn from that. It's not really a failure. They know how to control most of the stuff, and that's why. Because how can you be successful when you have all these blocks in between your unconscious mind and your conscious?
So tell people about those. Tell people what those blocks are. Like when you say blocks, like explain that.
Blocks means fear, anger, sadness.
These emotional blocks. Yeah,
that's been in between your conscious and your unconscious mind that allow you.
Somebody has a desire to be wealthy, but they may have this unconscious fear or unconscious anxiety about money.
Yes, that's blocked. That's stopped because you want your conscious and your unconscious mind to integrate it together. Right. So to be able to create the future that you want. Right. But you have all these blocks that stop it from there, and you have to remove that. Once you totally integrate it together.
So it sounds like what you're saying is kind of to piggyback on kind of what I was saying earlier, to try to relate to what you're explaining. The conscious mind is the desire. Like we could consciously say, okay, I want this, but the unconscious mind, maybe because of these blocks, it's not communicating. They're not in synchronization. And so, so the unconscious mind is got a completely different mode moving. It's saying life is hard. You got to work so much. You got to do this. You're never going to be successful. The
unconscious mind does everything for you. So it's a goal getter. It'll give you what you want. Your unconscious, you like you said, you set a goal, but you can't reach them because you're not connected with it, because at the unconscious level, that's where everything is going to happen in such a beautiful way that you have no idea how it happens, but they communicate in such a way that are symbolic.
So how do those messages in the unconscious mind get there in the first place?
Well, they communicate in symbolic. That's but
I mean, like those blocks, those emotional blocks, or those messages that your unconscious mind believes and is running.
You create these things, man.
When do you create those? When you're a child?
It could be before birth. It could be from generation to generation. It could be the core value that your parents install in you. Just like you were given the example with Mike Tyson, and the guy says, you're gonna be this. I believe in you. Everybody's gonna, if you say this to your child, you believe in them. That's you're installing some good stuff into them. But if you always making your child feel
like they've done something wrong, or
exactly,
or they're not worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, remember I was giving you an example of a guy that was very stutter in his 40s, and all because it was he was when he was a little boy, and his fish died, and he started crying, and the dad says, "What are you crying? Stop crying.
Don't be a baby.
You gotta be a man. You gotta be a man, right?"
Yeah.
And since then, but the dad didn't understand how emotional that the boy felt at the time, and he started stuttering, and he couldn't talk. And then when you do time night therapy with this man, and you really take him back to that, and you allow him to cry at 40 years old, you allow him to let go of that emotion, and everything, it's just amazing. This happened, just a magic, man.
It's like boom, it released it, and he no longer stutters, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
crazy, man.
When you I intuitively I know that we're programmed from birth. Like we start, that programming starts, and that unconscious mind, and as well as our conscious mind, but our unconscious mind gets programmed by the messages that we hear, by the way we interpret life, but much of it is formed early on because of how we learn to interpret the world. Like when your mother says, you're a bad kid, or like you're a bad child, or you're worthless, or I hate, nobody says that, but my mother told me things like, and this is exactly what I tell my daughter actually. So I make sure that everything that comes out of my mouth when it comes to her is uplifting. We do not focus on anything negative. I do not make negative statements to her, and I do not talk. I make sure that she understands that who she is has nothing to do with what she does.
Right.
Because that's really, to me, that's really important. What was that?
That's a great thing to do with her, because I'm telling you, between the age of from 1 to 7, you are who you are gonna be at that age. Yeah. That's what the scientists say, right?
Yep.
But you can change that. You can change that. So technically, people are a child at the age of 40.
Right. Absolutely. They're still running off the old messages. Well, one of the things that my mother always told me, and I tell my daughter this too, and I didn't even know how powerful this was until later in life, because I remember my brother would say the same thing to me. He said, we always felt like why are we different than other people? Like, we're different, like than our family, than other people. And my mother would tell me, before I went to bed every night, she'd tell me 2 things. She'd say, "Dad, did you know how much I love you?" And of course, and then she'd say, "And did you know that you're destined for greatness?" And I'd say, "Oh yeah, I know." And I'm like 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. And I believed her, man. You believe your mother. I believe my mother. My mother was like God, to me, so to speak. She knew it all. And so as a matter of fact, I do the same thing to my daughter. I tell her that she's destined for greatness, and that and I think I think that we all are, right? Like, we all are destined for our own greatness. And I think those are the good messages. And I believe that that's kind of how much of that stuff gets implanted in there, because my whole life I felt that way. And when I look back, like, well, why would I feel this way? Why would I feel like that I am like I am one of the great ones, and it's because my mother, like, I know it's a belief. It's just a thought that I thought as a child, that I continue to think. It's just, but it had to get there somewhere, right? I'm so thankful that my mother didn't give me some of these really, messages that are really detrimental to who I am.
Yeah. Like, she would have broke your spirits had she said to you, you're a horrible child. Like, I remember I worked with a client that she had something happen to her when she was two or three, and she's in her 30s, and that affect her relationship, affect everything.
Yeah.
And when we did time night therapy with her, she realized at age 2, her mother slammed her head to the wall.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But she couldn't remember why she resent her mom so much. She's like, there's something about this woman.
Did she repress that memory or something?
Yeah, but she couldn't remember why. But she just felt like whenever she thinks of her mom, she thinks of her as a horrible person.
Oh, well, no wonder, man. You don't throw your kid's head in the wall.
She didn't know why, though. That's the part. That was the key. It's like she has no clue. But she just felt like the energy that her mom put out there is just not the person that she wants to be around with. And that's what I'm saying. So when you say certain things to a child, man, you can either make him or break him, because those feelings, they
There,
as you go on, your memory is creating a guilt stuff, right?
a gestalt,
And it's it's putting all these emotions that are similar all onto that memory line, and that's if they're good, if they're bad, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I do.
Yeah.
So as we get older and we want to implant the right kinds of messages that we want to form our lives moving forward, because I know I study epigenetics and brain plasticity, and we talk about that you can change. Science has proven this. It's not just some therapy. It's a real bona fide physical science that we know that that our brains change based on how we use it. Our bodies change based on how we use it. That's the conscious evolution part of our life. It's also based on our intentions, what we want, our desires. And so I'm always on the lookout. I'm a big believer in affirmations. I know using certain affirmations, but really coupling it with intention and emotion, positive emotion, feeling what I need to feel, feeling as if. Is that a good way to implant some of these things in your unconscious? Or is it something else?
No, that is a good way. As long as it's positive. Yeah, positive emotions, positive things that are happy, because you don't want to say negative stuff to yourself.
Right.
So always want to make sure you let your unconscious mind takes what's good to you, what's good for you, and because it'll process whatever you say to yourself.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like if you have a young girl, you want her to say to herself, like your daughter, teach her and saying how beautiful she is to herself. Right. I'm Correct. Beautiful. I'm confident. I'm this. I'm that. Because the minute she says something negative, I'm a horrible person. I'm nobody wants me. Your unconscious takes that and processes it and store it into your mind. And now, and outside of you have this energy now. You put it out there.
Yes.
And then people start, because the energy could start from inside and to out. So first you have to install it, and then your body gives it to you.
That's right.
Just like as a computer processor, and then with the body itself. So first you process it in your mind, and then give it to you, and then your body gives it to you.
Right.
It's crazy, man. So to get back to what you're saying, you have to say good things to yourself, man. Because when you say negative stuff to yourself, you're treating your precious mind like a dog.
Well, yeah.
Really.
I had this discussion with my girlfriend about our dog training. It's like, so we were trying to train her dog before we got rid of it, and she's wanting to spank it for pooping on the floor. And I said, no. I said, that's not going to work. I said, look, I've done this before, and I've read lots of books on training dogs, and I worked with dog trainers, and they all unanimous. I used to watch that, like Cesar Romero, he was the dog whisperer. And he would always talk about this too, that it's positive reinforcement. You reinforce the positive behaviors. And what's built into that, what I'm getting at, is that it's that you try to reprimand, punish, which is why I don't believe in punishment, by the way. I don't believe in punishing my daughter for shit. I believe in consequences, but I don't punish her for the same reason, because we don't have, it doesn't teach them the right action. What it does, all it does is make you afraid of the other action. Like, I'm afraid to get the punishment. It does not take, so I don't want my daughter to be afraid to do something because she's going to get some kind of punishment. I want her to want to do the right action because she sees it to be the best thing to do in her life, whether it be because she doesn't want to get a ticket for speeding, or whether it be because she wants to have the best outcome for whatever situation. So I see that kind of as the same kind of a thing, that when we talk, we do it to ourselves, right? Like, I constantly see this. I mean, and it's wicked, because 99% of the people that I work with who have this going on in their head, this negative self-talk, they don't even realize how much they beat up on themselves. They don't even realize it. They feel like, oh, I'm just being truthful with myself. I don't want to kid myself. I would rather you kid yourself and have a great life than you be quote unquote honest and fucking have a shit life, than be miserable, feel like you can't accomplish things, and it's kind of funny because people used to always come up to me when I talk to them, and I would have these kinds of conversations. They would say, oh, you just live in your happy bubble. I said, yeah, I do. I said, and they're like, well, I'm just keeping it real. And I would say, yeah, man, real negative. Because every time I hear somebody say I want to keep it real right now, we're going to keep it real, it's usually something negative comes next.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, you're right. One of the best way to get your body, your mind, your unconscious mind to install good stuff to your unconscious mind, even if you don't believe it. Let's just say you want money all the time. Always think of yourself as the next successful man.
That's right.
Even if you're not.
I'm thinking of myself as the next billionaire. That's what I'm thinking of myself.
Yeah. The more you say it, you start believing in your own crap, right?
Right.
So when you believe in your own crap, it creates an energy outside.
That's right.
And now you only attract to people that are either like that or even more successful.
Right.
So you cut all the bullshitters out. So that's why I said, you need to say great stuff to yourself. Because if you don't, then you still keep saying stupid things to yourself, then you only attract stupid things. Because outside your body, you're only producing stupid energy.
Well, I believe there's that in the movie Forrest Gump, stupid is as stupid does, and it's totally true. You're like, yeah, I mean, like you can't expect to produce something more than what you are telling yourself. If you're telling yourself that you're not good enough or you have these limitations, then you're going to have those limitations, man. Like,
and by the way, it's not a lie. Even if you say to yourself, I'm the richest man on earth, it's not a lie. Just keep saying it to yourself until you believe it. Even though if you go into whatever it is you're going through, you have a disease, say, you know what, I know, I'm going to be better today. I'm feeling great. The more you keep saying that, you can beat that disease. I'm telling you.
Absolutely. Actually, I've seen some anecdotal evidence about people who use different modalities to change how they think about their disease, but more importantly, to really change the vibration in their body and in their thinking and their energy, and it does miraculous things. People heal themselves from cancer, neurological diseases. It's the most amazing. Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's been doing this work on this kind of area for 30 years, I think, something like that. And he healed himself from back injury. Like, I think it was 3 breaks in his back. The dude was supposed to be in a wheelchair the rest of his life, and they said, okay, we got to go. There's only one procedure that we can do, and you're probably still going to be in a wheelchair. And he was a chiropractor. And he's like, I knew what was going to happen. So he said, you know what? If I'm going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, then I'm going to do this on my own. And so he said, I just knew there was some mind-body connection between my mind and my body. And so and here's the magic. Within 12 weeks, he said, I didn't do the surgery within 12 weeks, he completely healed himself. And the doctors were like, what the fuck did you do? Like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Because he was working out again, back at his practicing. And then he said, he made a commitment to himself that if I was ever able to walk again, I was going to commit the rest of my life to understanding this mind-body connection. So now that's all he does for the last 30 years almost. Yeah. He studies it, he documents it, he's got an institute. It's really amazing stuff. He does do meditation. I
had a client that had chronic disease, back pain. She was taking medication for over 10, 15 years. And I had another one with a foot injury. And she was limping on taking very, very high dosage, heavy duty drugs. And all of this, man, it's funny. I'm telling you, just like he said, you can heal yourself, and if you could just connect with your unconscious mind, align these negative emotions to positive emotions, things could happen smoothly, and those people, they no longer need medications. They got rid of it. I had people with neck problems. They got rid of it. There
was one thing that we haven't done yet that I want to do, and you told me about it. I'll just share this with everybody. It was you said that there's a way for you to program yourself so that you can touch a certain thing and you can activate a certain emotion. Tell everybody about that, because that sounds fucking awesome.
Well, it's called it's go from a positive state to a motivation. It's called anchor. It's like when you anchor a positive state to you. So sometimes we wake up in the morning, we like so sluggish. You procrastinate. and you're like, okay, I really don't want to do this, I really don't do that. So when you do activate those states into your mind or into your body, or you teach the client, you show the client, okay, how do I go from procrastinate to motivate them? And so what you usually ask them, what motivates you, how do you get motivated when
So just so everybody knows, like, what you're talking about is like, you teach them, you do something physical, like tap your finger or tap your hand, and it is taking you from one emotional state to the one that you want. Like, so if you want to feel like, hey, every time I want to feel like I love my wife, because I hate my wife, I want to feel like I love my wife. So to teach me how to do that, like that would be an example, right? Like that would be an example.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't recommend that. I think you should really love your wife, but if that's the best way to do it, then
like if you're training your clients, for example, at the gym, and then they're not motivated to lift weights, and so you install this anchor somewhere in your body, maybe a shoulder, and you show them how to access that, So and
give me an example. Give me an example of something that you've done before, something that is
like for example, if you I use something called collapse anchor. What collapse anchor is when you go collapse anchor. So you go from tired and procrastinate to totally motivated and powerful, whatever it is that's important to you, that to get you to go from moving to get out of bed and go make that money, go do what you got to do. And then can you remember a time when you were totally motivated?
Sure.
As you're accessing that information, you can see your everything changes, your skin tone changes, and then you install that motivation right then and there for that person.
So you anchor that emotion into some physical modality.
Somewhere about for them, so that when they need it, they can access that.
Okay.
Because it's in your nervous system.
So it sounds very like surreal. Like it really works, right? Like you could do this.
Yeah, just like we did something called parts integration, where we see your hands just move together, kind of stuff.
Yeah, we did that. That was pretty cool, by the way. So so basically, you're instilling some of these emotional states, or the trigger for these emotional states, into your physiology, right? You're localizing it.
Yeah, you access it through your nervous system, and you're like, wow. And then if you watch the person's face, and you see the color shift automatically. Yeah, you'll see it. That's why I say to you, when you do these things, you got to pay attention. You got to watch, look everything. You're looking at everything that's going on.
How many can you do at a time? Like, can you have like several? Because I want to do I want to always feel like I want to just attack the gym. I wonder if you could if you could make me feel like I'm smoking weed all day if I just like tap my finger. Or maybe having an orgasm. Like, I want to have an orgasm like right now, man. Without having an orgasm.
Well, I had clients say worse stuff to me, but it's all good. If you wanna, it's all about like big things you want to access.
Right.
It's all a state of mind, man. You wanna connect, you want to access, but first you got to take it step by step. Learn to connect with it. Learn to meditate in a way. Learn to really connect with your unconscious mind. And then once you learn to do these things, man, you'll be able to access these states like in an instant. With these techniques.
From my personal experience, I've been meditating now for probably about 6 or 7 years, something like that, and I definitely could tell a shift in my own experience. I know this isn't exactly what we're talking about, but I definitely feel like I definitely feel like I'm connecting with myself better than I ever have in my life. And
nice.
It's been a slow, gradual progression, of course, especially in the last year and a half, 2 years. Especially the last year, I've really sort of my life has sort of been galvanized by a lot of different things in terms of internally to be able to connect, and it's been a real priority. And it's strange. It's because it almost, and so now when I look back at my 20s, my teens, my 20s, even my 30s, it looks. Even though it wasn't really that long ago, I'm 48. It wasn't that long ago. It looks like it's like a haze. It's like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, I didn't even know. I don't think I was connected very well to myself. I was connected very well to my desires and to my passions, but I was not connected to who I really am today. Like, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, your value. Well, in life, you go through values, man. You know, remember when I was talking about values levels?
Yes.
Yeah. So sometimes we move away from certain values and we install some new ones. Right now, from what you're saying, you're more connecting with yourself, more meditation.
Yes.
Meditate. That's
Well,
way.
I do a couple of different modalities on a regular basis. So I meditate every day, but I also journal and write. And that is a really important thing for me. It's always been for me. I encourage it in my clients. But the reason why it's important for me is because I get a chance to really put on paper, really sort of extract or extrapolate my thoughts and my feelings and analyze those and really put them down on paper, put them in. And remember, words are just metaphors for ideas, right? They're just these things just represent how we feel. So I'm always revisiting my feelings and my ideas about those things, and I'm representing them. I'm always trying to represent them in new ways so that I can uncover and understand and look at them from different angles and facets. And so I feel like that really helps me to know myself better. Right. That's why I can describe my feelings so well. That's why I can when I look at other people as a third person observer, and they ask my advice about something. I'm usually pretty good at being able to put myself in somebody else's shoes, or looking at something from a different perspective, or taking myself out of the situation. As a matter of fact, I had this. I worked at this company right out of graduate school. After a few years, I was one of the last companies I worked for before I went on my own consulting firms. We had a guy. He wrote a bestseller book about how our minds work, and I guess it was like he came in. He was a psychologist, and he came in to talk to all the executives. I was one of the executives, and he interviewed us and tried to really facilitate better communication in the company. That's what he was really doing. And I was the last guy on his list before he left. It was a couple of weeks, and he was like, "Yeah, you're the most interesting guy here at this company." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Oh, I hope that's good." He's like, No, that's good." Because I was in sales. I was the VP of sales there. And he's like, "For a sales guy, you're not like your normal sales guy." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well," he says, "you are exactly right down the middle when it comes to right and left brain." He said, I've never seen anybody quite so right down the middle. He says, "You don't think completely right side. You don't think completely left side. You're not completely analytical. You're not completely emotional. You're right down the middle." He said, "So you have this ability to be able to see things from a very unique perspective that most people cannot do because they don't think like that. They literally think either analytically or emotionally, or they're tilted more to one side." He said, "You're right in the middle." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, is this going to help me?" he's like, "Well, it could if you used it right."
Yeah.
But looking back now, when I look at my clients and when I look at my life and I look at how I see things, I absolutely, because people say, "Wow, I'm so glad you can see it that way," and it just comes so naturally for me to be able to go, "Hey, I have a perspective." Like if I'm in a discussion or an argument, like for instance, if I'm in an argument with my girlfriend, I see it one way and I realize that she may see it a different way, but it doesn't make any one of us right or wrong. I don't see it that way. It's like, and the reason why I don't see it right or wrong is because right and wrong depends on your perspective.
Depends on perspective. That's what I said. Right.
So if my perspective is one way, right and wrong can mean this. If my perspective is another way, right and wrong can mean something else. And so I get away from saying right or wrong in my discussions, especially with my girlfriend or especially with anybody else. It's not right or wrong. It's just preferences. I have a preference for this. You have a preference for this. I'm okay with not sharing the same ideas or not, but what I find problematic is that most people really are looking for consensus. They're really looking for this. You need to see it the way I see it, or you don't know me.
I know. I see that a lot. That's why I said this to you, perceptions, projections.
Yeah, I love that. I use that, by the way, man. Yeah. I've already used it once or twice.
That's
good.
I
love it.
You if I would ask you, "Wow, that's interesting. What does that mean?"
No, I totally get it. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Explain to people what you mean by that.
And you know why you get it? Because you just broke it down with your past experience, right in the center. Because perceptions, projections. Let's say I'm dealing with you on a group level, and I did my part, and you're supposed to do your part, right? And then just because you're not doing it the way I want, or you're not getting back.
What you think I should do.
Yeah, I can't expect it automatically jump on conclusion. Oh, he's not doing it. You know, he's this, is that. That's my perception. I'm project that on you.
You may have all these reasons why I'm not doing it, but that is your perception of what's going on. My perception may be, hey man, I'm doing this, and this, and this.
Maybe it's challenging. You know, you really want to do it. You know, you just need the right thing, the right tools. And for me to project that on you, thinking, well, oh, she's doing that. He's not interested in doing this. I had the wrong partner. I should have done this with someone else. That's not cool, you know, because you project that on that person. So now, the minute you project that, you become that person.
Yes.
So that group is no longer going to do powerful things.
It's funny you say that, because when I went to Thailand with my girlfriend last year, her mom. Right. The whole trip we spent with her mom too. With her mom and her dad. So it's kind of cool to get to know them. But it was like, her mom makes this comment. Now, she speaks only Chinese. She speaks English too, but she speaks to her daughter in Chinese usually, or Thai. She's in Thai, and she's like, and she says something to her, and then Suni my girlfriend kind of laughs, and she's like, and I said, what did she say? She says, well, my mom asked me, like, gee, you know, Ted, he seems like he has fun everywhere he goes. Like, he's never upset about anything. And she's like, yeah, well, that's kind of the way he is. And it's like, it's because, yeah, I see this as this topic, this projection. Perception is projection. It's like, I always use the example of going to the movies. Like, you and I could go to we can go see Aquaman. I just saw Aquaman 2 weeks ago, and it's fucking awesome. I love this fucking movie. And I came out of that movie going, fuck, I want to see this movie again. You know, like, I like musical. But then I heard somebody else say, oh yeah, I didn't like it. Like, they didn't like it. They thought it was goofy, or they didn't think it was a very good movie, or it wasn't what they expected, or whatever. So you and I can go see the same movie, and we can walk out, have two different perceptions of the movie. And so, but I guess the way I perceive this is, I'm always looking for the good stuff. I'm always looking. There's no exception.
By the way, that's a great way to be in charge of your unconscious mind, man. To always install positive stuff to it. Always focus on the good stuff. You know what you're doing. You're really not allowing negative things to be on that bus.
I don't want that negative stuff to occupy my mind for very long. Like, I'll recognize it.
It will occupy for a long time, and it won't go anywhere.
I've even had clients tell me, in the past, athletes say, hey, I want you to really beat up on me. I want you to really be hard on me. I'm like, I'm not that guy. I'm not like, I'll be honest with you, but I will always frame everything in the positive. I will always do that, because, man, it does not feel good to me to sit there and go, man, you're a piece of shit. You need to do more work. You need to get down on this. No, I mean, I'll say we need to get to work here, but I'm not going to berate you and put you down. And, like, that's just not who I am. But more importantly, I just don't think it works. I just don't think it works.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. It doesn't really work that way.
But I do I do know that there was a coach out there that I know of, and a great guy. I know him. He's one of the top coaches as well. And I had one of his figure girls come to me one year, and she's like, oh, she's in tears. She's like, I think I need to switch coaches. I'd like to sign up with you. I'm like, well, who's your coach? And she told me. I'm like, okay, I know who he is. He's a good guy. And she's like, well, you know, I went in for an evaluation, and he told me my ass looked like SpongeBob SquarePants. She was in tears. I'm like, I was like, oh my God, that's fucking hilarious. I didn't tell her that, but I was like, well, I said, that's probably not the best thing to say, but I wouldn't have framed it like that. But that's the reason why because everyone's going to perceive things differently. But I always think that there's, like, you hear people say this a lot. Like, I want you to be critical. I want you to be constructive with constructive criticism. Yeah. What's the difference between, I know it one way, but in my mind, there's a difference between having constructive criticism and just negative criticism. So, and for me, constructive criticism is always coupled with something positive. That's the way I see it. So you tell me.
So what you do, you flip them.
Right.
You flip them. You know, just like I said to you earlier, when you have experienced fear, and fear is not bad, but you have to use it to benefit you. So when somebody give you a feedback, don't take it as a good feedback and flip it so it benefits you. So don't take the negative emotion out of it, and just take that feedback and really flip them. That's all it is, really. And if you have the power to do that, it's a way of blocking all type of suggestions coming at you that are bad, and you only take the good one from it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is why I said when you meditate every day, one thing I usually say to myself, unconscious mind, take only the suggestions that are good for me and reject the ones that are bad.
Right.
So I'm going to be hearing all kind of stuff coming to me from the minute you wake up until you go to bed. Either you're going to get a phone call, you're going to receive a letter that says you owe this much money, you're going to get into a fight with somebody, or you and your girl's not going to be on, you know what I mean? So, but if you do that before you get up in the morning, you say, dear unconscious mind, allow me to receive the good suggestion and delete and reject all the bad ones.
You can trust that your unconscious mind will just do that automatically.
Yeah, it will do it. Listen, one of the questions I ask people: who do you trust to put you to sleep at night?
That's a good one. Yeah.
So if you don't trust your unconscious mind, who else are you gonna trust?
Right, because your unconscious mind is really you.
Yeah, exactly.
So as a matter of fact, I hear. So I guess if you don't trust yourself, then you're fucked, right?
Pretty much, man. Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I definitely, when it comes to the unconscious and when it comes to self-programming, I'm a big believer in it. I'm a big believer that we program ourselves daily, consciously. That, especially like I was telling you earlier, brain plasticity tells us this. I really find this to be really, really exciting and fascinating. That the way we use our brains dictates how it evolves and changes throughout our lives. And we also know now through science tells us that our brains never stay the same. The only time it stays the same is if we stay the same. So in other words,
it's expanding.
Yeah,
it's always expanding, willing to learn.
We used to believe that as we aged, our brain function went down. Like we would, our memories were poor, our ability to learn declined. Like we had that there was these seasons of life where we would age and decline, and our cognitive ability would do the same. But now we know this is not true. What was the reason why that was showing up was because that's what we believed, and we believed it, and so we performed that way. People got into the quote unquote golden years, and what did they do? They relaxed. They didn't read as much. They didn't learn as much. They didn't stimulate their brains as much. And so guess what? That functionality became more efficient, and then you're not going to be able to learn as much. I use this example because this is completely true. The more you think, if you think positively, consistently, that your brain develops stronger, bigger neural pathways. Stronger neural pathways to think the exact same way. So if you're always critical, if you're always negative, I know some people who I'm really good friends with who I love very much, but they're like, when you say something, they're always got some criticism. Always. Yeah. Always. It's like, oh, you better watch out for this. Oh, well, what about this? Oh, fucking it's fucking Donald Trump. Like whatever the fuck it is, whatever the thing is, it's like, and it's like, it's because it's their truth, but more importantly, their brains are so used to thinking in these certain pathways that it becomes easier and easier and easier over time. The good news is that because it changes one way, it can also change another way. Like you said, like we could change this stuff, right? Like
change that stuff, yeah. So that kind of thoughts that you have, that person has, it manifested and it created a different belief. So, that's why I say to people or clients, if you want a different outcome, you have to have a different belief.
Yeah. And the way you get a different belief is by thinking different thoughts. And,
exactly.
And that's hard for people. I know it because I consciously am telling myself, Tad, what do you want? Let's think that. Let's think this. Let's think this. Okay. And in the beginning, I remember it took me years to even call myself a bodybuilder. Years. Yeah. Because I just didn't think of myself that way. I was a guy who bodybuilded, but I wasn't a bodybuilder. Because the bodybuilders were the guys who were fucking on stage and they were fucking huge and they were pros and they were like, and that's what I was going to become. Until I adopted that, I didn't see and then once I did, man, it was like the lights came on and and when I track my thinking in all the areas of my life, I could totally see the correlations. So it's really kind of fascinating. And the funniest thing is we call it fact. oh, this is just the way it is. It's the way it is right now.
Right.
It's the way it is. You're right. It's the way it is right now. It can be. It can be different tomorrow. You can be wealthy tomorrow. You can be healthy tomorrow. You can be whatever you want tomorrow.
That's right.
If you couldn't, then I'd tell you just to put a bullet in your head.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, I'm being facetious. But
all you have to do is change your thoughts, change your thinking, and you'll get a different outcome.
There's a great saying that goes, and it's Esther Hicks says it a lot. She's a channeler. I listen to a lot of her stuff. She says, thoughts become things. And you hear Kai Green says this, and it's the best description of what we're talking about, that as you think a certain way, it becomes reality. And here's how people describe it. Because you think a certain way long enough, you harness enough energy, and it will become reality. That's what you'll see. That's what you'll experience. And but when it's so sneaky, because what happens is it feels like it's always been that way. Like life, like I hear people say, "Oh man, life is going to beat you up." No, life is just beating you up, and you are now. And now it is a habit of thought, and it continues, and so that's all you can see.
Absolutely.
You know, like that's why when people ask me, I say, "Oh, how is life?" Well, my life is fucking beautiful, man. Like I have my own challenges, but my life is beautiful. My life is awesome. Like. I'm good. Like, you know, there's good stuff. There's some bad stuff, but I don't like give that a lot of airtime. Like, why would I do that?
Yeah. Even if you have more negative than positive, if you could just run on just the positive, you can outtake the negatives. Yeah. Really. And then really shrink this down and shrink it as much as possible. But if you because remember, when the more you focus on negative, man, negative emotion has a way you can dwell on stuff for years, for a long time, and you never let go.
I know,
I'm serious, man. And I'm serious, negative thoughts are so much easier to pop. That's why, you know, when I say when you connect with this, you have two little voices that talks to you. I know you'll have a negative suggestion and a positive suggestion. You have to reject it the minute. Like for example, can you if you sit here, let's just pick a loved one for instance. Can you imagine anything bad happen to your daughter?
I can imagine it.
Yeah. So, but what if you do?
But I don't.
You release it. You know, delete. Like, I don't want to think about that because that's not what you want. You don't want that thinking.
No.
Because the more you process that, it manifests.
Yeah.
And it can actually. That's just why I said we are so powerful in our own way. We don't really acknowledge that.
I think there's a lot of cultures. There's and then we get this in our culture too. I think it's subversive. It's hidden in our mores, in our ways that we are in this life. And we'll like you'll always hear stuff like people say something like they'll say something and they'll go, "Oh, don't say that." Like why? It's because I think intuitively know that when you speak it, we can make it reality. So why would you want to speak something that you don't want to manifest? Like I would, and it's even kind of funny. We do the same thing with like the things that we're afraid of, right? Like so, for instance, death or cancer. You'll hear people go, "He has cancer." Like they whisper it, like "fucking what? Fucking okay, you got cancer? Okay, you got cancer." Like you got disease. But the point is that we intuitively do this with so many things like that. We should just flip it and do it and be more vocal about the good stuff, about the stuff we want. But people won't do that. They're like, I said, "Look, man, if you want to win, then shit, you better tell yourself that. You better tell yourself, I'm gonna win. 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 I'm the best. I'm the best. I don't care who else is out there. I'm the best. I am the best. I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna make money. I'm gonna do this." And I spend a lot of time really, really trying to do these things in my head so that way I can. And then, but I think people they feel like they run the risk of feeling inauthentic because it doesn't feel like it's who they are. And I would say that's because, remember, like you said, this bubble, your sphere that you operate in, you're trying to get that sphere to get bigger, right? To encompass more, to get more stuff in there, to whatever it is that you want in your life, how you want it to grow. And the only way to do that is what's in here is comfortable. What's out here is uncomfortable. You got to get uncomfortable. You got to keep getting uncomfortable because when you get to a certain point, that uncomfortable gets comfortable. And then you get more. And then you get more. And that's how it kind of works. So you got to get used to being uncomfortable, I think, right?
Yeah, you have to. And just because, you just made $1 million in your bank account and you get uncomfortable, you get comfortable and then not knowing that, because, the way I look at it for me, like, for example, if you just, you just made $1,000 from coaching or for whatever it is, and you get comfortable, but the minute you get comfortable, that money's going to drain out. You can't get comfortable. You have to keep going out there. What more can I get? You know what I mean? Just say, I need to explore, because your mind can explore more. Same thing. Just because you win a show or you win a fight, you're getting comfortable, so you don't want to train no more as hard as you want to. You don't want to keep going. So, but remember, when you're a champion, everybody's looking to take you down.
Right.
So you can't get comfortable. Yeah. So you have to really stay on your game and constantly, I got to keep on fighting and keep on going.
I think I think that and this is kind of a funny point, and this is kind of, we're at the 2-hour mark, so we'll end it pretty soon here, but I think that's kind of an interesting point because people have talked about this a lot, and it just occurred to me to put it in words. The champion, staying hungry as a champion is always difficult for a lot of people because when they're climbing the ladder of success, whether it be sports or job, when you hit these certain mile markers, it's usually these external forces that are pushing them, right? I got to be better than this person. I got to be better than this. I got to make more money than this. I got to do better than this. The problem is that's not internal. But it's the people that really internalize their desires, that they're what they want. I want to be the best ever, right? That doesn't have a person associated with it, right?
Right.
I want, and so their bar always is getting, no matter how high they go, their bar is still going up. So they never run the risk of being stagnant, of getting comfortable, right?
Right.
And I think that you can see the ones who do. You can see the ones who do.
Yeah, you can see the one that's do. Yeah. And again, if you're in business, you don't want to get comfortable either. So because your competitor will, like you said, external competitors will take you down.
Sometimes I like getting a little comfortable, man.
You like to get a little comfortable?
Sometimes I like to get comfortable, man. Like sometimes there's certain things in my life that I just like to be.
Absolutely. Certain things, what I was referring to as moving forward, because what I'm saying to your mind is out there to expand and more and explore more and more and more. There's challenge that you want to keep exploring. You know what I mean? And the more you're exploring them, the more uncomfortable you're going to face them, and you got to keep on going. That doesn't mean you're not comfortable with certain things. You will be comfortable with certain things, but if you can make more improvement in your life, why not?
Absolutely. Well, tell everybody what kinds of things that you can help them with, and then tell them how to get a hold of you.
Well, first of all, the best way to get a hold of me is, and I don't have a website now, but I do have a number, and to my Instagram page as well, Dickens Fenelon, and Instagram.
And I'm gonna put this in the notes section.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways. People that are going through tough time, can connect with themselves. Relationship, business, special business. I'm an expert in that now. I've been coaching a lot of business people, and
and these people just are trying to break past barriers. They're trying to become more self-actualized.
Yeah, exactly. All type of stuff. Things that are going on in your past that you can't let go, and you feel like you're stuck. You can't move forward.
I love that story you told me about the one lady that you helped in Vegas. You were in Las Vegas, I think. And she's just, and then tell everybody that story, because that's a great story. Just because you got a nice thing in the mail a couple months later, I just thought that was cool. I want to get that.
Yeah, it was crazy. I met this lady, and we started talking, and she said to me that I'm very, very comfortable. I build rapport with people pretty easy, and once I build rapport, the people always seem to open up to me and tell me all kind of stuff. And I said, wow, you know, and one of the things she mentioned, she doesn't have a great relationship with her mom. And I said, wait a minute, how's that possible? Your mom is supposed to be your best friend, you know? Yeah, you know? And she said, yeah, but I don't know why. I said, well, you know, what if I give you a little gift? You know, we can play a little game. Would you want to play a little game? And she said, yeah, why not? You know, and I start doing timeline therapy with her, but in a way where it was so beautiful done, she wasn't aware of it.
Right.
You know,
she was aware she's being counseled.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you know, hypnosis is the only way you can hypnotize somebody is by following an instruction. So what I'm saying is that you can't hypnotize. I'm telling you to hypnotize yourself.
Yeah, you have
to. I'm telling you to hypnotize yourself.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
because you're in control.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, when we did that with timeline therapy, and then she said, well, oh my God, I can actually remember. That's funny. I never knew why I hold on to my mom. I just didn't like her so much. Now that you're doing this to me, it's just surprising, shocking. I can actually.
Oh, so you did this. So you did this. You did some timeline therapy with her. And she was able to recall like why she was holding things against her mother or whatever.
Yeah, and then she said to me, and I said, "What did you learn from that?" She said, "You know what? I forgive her now that I see that. But what I do understand, I realized she was a woman that was a drug addict.
Oh, okay.
She was confused and she didn't know what she wants. She had so much anger and she was taking it out on me. And you know, the next day, she called her mother. She said, Dickens, I don't know what you did to me. That must have been magic. But man, I pick up the phone and I call my mom. I say, I love you. I want to see you. And everything is just fall into place. I was just like that.
Yeah, and she told you this a couple months later, because she wrote you a letter and sent you a check in the mail, right?
They sent me a check in the mail for $5,000. I was like, whoa,
gift!
It's crazy.
The universe provides, right?
Yeah, and you know, it's so funny. I didn't charge for this. It was, you know, I just felt like
You gave her a gift. You gave her a gift.
Yeah, I wanted to do something nice, you know. And sometimes, and that's why a lot of time what I notice, I don't push people away when somebody interrupt me. And if I'm at the gym training or wherever I'm at, someone asks me, because I know before I go out there, I wake up every morning, I install this positive energy around me. I'm only going to attract to positive people.
Yes.
So when people come and talk to me, I don't push you away. I don't push you away because I know you coming to me because I'm attracted to you. You understand that makes sense?
Absolutely. No, you trust the universe and the powers. That's hard sometimes for people. It was hard for me originally. I trust it a lot more now that, hey, look, I get what I attract. So it's my job to be what I want in my life. So one of the ways I say this is to tell people, say, look, you want more love? Then you must be the love that you want. You have to. You want more confidence, you have to be the confidence that you want. You have to be that which that you want to manifest, whether it be wealth, whether it be whatever. You have to be it. And when I mean be it, you have to feel it. Feeling is being. Feeling is being.
And not only that, because the reason I don't push, because my mind is always open to learn. And I learn from every single person I work with. I'm always learning from them. Because
except for me. You probably didn't learn shit from me. You learned what not to do.
Yeah, so because this person can change my life as well. And I can change, we can change each other's way, how we see each other. So every client is different, Yeah. So when I talk to people, so it's an opportunity for me to get to know them, to get to know each and every single person, how they view the world. Because remember, everybody sees the world differently.
Yep.
Yeah, and everybody, you don't want to push different, what the universe has to offer to you, or wait just because you don't want to talk to people.
One of the best things that I heard recently, and I forget the lady's name, it was on Impact Theory with Tom Bilyeu. He had a lady on. She's this world famous life coach. She's really awesome. She works with all these CEOs and stuff. She has her own company. I forgot her name. I'll pick it up somewhere. But she said that, and she's been very highly successful at helping people communicate, couples, but also business people as well, getting them to reorganize their lives. And most of what she talks about is getting people to get past their own bullshit, like how they keep lying to themselves, stuff like that. But one of the things she said, something like that you don't need, and we were there, she was referring mainly to couples, like when she does these couples therapies, when she works with these couples and how they can organize it and really meet the goals in their relationship that they want, whether they be sex or money or whatever, family stuff. She says they got you. You don't have to have consensus. Like you don't have to have agreements. Like you don't have to agree. That's not the idea, but you do have to be able to hear and respect. So in other words, and that's the big, and I found that to be really, really, really poignant that when you're in an argument, when you're in a discussion with somebody, and maybe it's an argument, whatever you want to call it, you don't have to agree for it to come out well. Nobody has to turn to the other side. You don't have to change anyone's mind. I really like that she highlighted that you don't have to agree. That it's not about getting the other person to agree with you.
You know what that's called? Respect each other's model of the world. That's what it means.
Right, exactly.
So what that means, I know exactly what she's referring to, because I could be working with someone, and that person totally way out there, but I don't care. I don't need to understand. I don't need to agree with who they are, what they do, but I have to respect them if I want to change them.
So she talked about you gotta listen, you gotta hear and respect.
And respect, yeah.
Because you can't respect if you don't know it. The only way to know it is if you hear it. So I get it.
Yeah. You have to respect each other's model of the world. So
that's a hard one, though. That's a hard one. I think every single person who would be listening, or every single person that you would tell this philosophy to, would say absolutely. They'd say 100% that's true. But then when push comes to shove and the rubber meets the road, very few people are willing to actually truly respect other people's model of the world.
Well, that's true. That's true. But
especially if they don't agree with it.
If you're in a position to
I don't agree with building a wall. But I absolutely respect other people's willingness to do it, their belief in it. I just don't think it's the right thing to do.
But
I'm not going to sit there and curse at people because they believe that, or think they're stupid.
Yeah, I don't want to curse people because they believe that. If you want to change someone's or work with them and really change the way they see the world, you have to respect how they see it.
That's right.
How they see the world. Once you respect that, because look, think of it this way: that since you're in this field, right? Let's say I train people in the gym too, or you probably train some. Let's say I'm at the gym, I'm doing something totally off, right? And if you come up to me and say, "Dude, what the hell are you doing?" Right? Now, the minute you say that, even if I didn't know shit, I didn't know I was doing it wrong. The minute you say that, you disrespect that person.
You go into offensive
no matter how
mode.
great you are, you could be the best coach in the world. That person's not going to even want to work with you,
right?
Because you just disrespect them. Now, if you say to the person, "Wow, cool, what are you doing?" It's like, "Wow, that's a great exercise. Have you ever thought of doing it this way? Let me show you a different way to do it." So, it worked for me. Maybe you'll like it. What you did there, you respect the way they're doing. You didn't tell them what you're doing is bullshit. What you said to them, you said, "Wow, can I show you another way of doing it?" Guess what?
Can I show you a way of doing it without hurting yourself? You want to break your leg on that one, or you want to pull something? By the way, I resist all temptations in the gym to tell anybody how to do anything. Mostly because I didn't want to ever be that guy that you're describing. Because you always like that fucking Mr. Know-It-all. I guess I've just been in the in and out of gyms for the last 34 years, and it's like, I'm not going to be that motherfucker, I'm trying to tell everybody what to do, and you better do this, and I'm like,
if you're a trainer, you want to pick this person as a client.
Absolutely, you're not going to do it that way.
Do it. You have to do it that. But you can't disrespect people's how they view the world, their model of the world, because remember I said to you to go back. Everybody build a circle, right?
Right.
They build their own circle. They don't want nobody to come near it, because the minute you come near it, they're gonna be like, "How dare you telling me how to live my life? I build this. How are you gonna tell me what's in my circle?" And they're gonna be really distance themselves from you and be upset at you because you try to come up in the. But if you say to them something different, then they'll allow you to help them.
It's very much like we all live in our own worlds. We all do, and so it's really very much the analogy that I would say, or the metaphor that I would use, would be like if we all each live in our own worlds, which I believe we do. Then if I tell somebody how to live in their world, it doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong or indifferent or whatever. You're literally telling them how to be in their world. and it doesn't make sense to me to sit there and try to define somebody's reality for them, even if I can clearly and more easily get an outcome that I know they want. like you could have a better physique if you do it this way or eat this way, or like, yeah, I get it, but they have to be willing, like you said, they have to be willing, and they got to want that. So, well, yeah. Man, hey, thank you for being on the show, Dickens. We're going to have you on again, and we're going to talk about some more cool stuff later. But if people want to reach out to you, I'm going to have this stuff in the notes. It's going to be, you can go on Instagram, Dickens Fenelon, DICKENSFENELON, and on Instagram. You said they could also maybe email you. What's your email address? You want to give everyone your email? Yeah, you can
email me from fenelon.dickens@gmail.com.
Okay, cool. Fenelon.dickens@gmail.com. All right, great, awesome, and hey, thanks for being on the show, brother. And I'm gonna have you on again, and we're gonna you and I are gonna do some more therapy because I'm a fucked up individual. So I truly really enjoyed it. It was very, very moving for me personally, and so I highly recommend anyone to go and have this kind of thing done if you want to move past some barriers in your life, but more importantly, just understanding who you are better and being able to be a more effective person. It really helped me. Like, I had no idea some of this stuff that we brought up, man. I was like, and it wasn't like it was really holding my life back or anything, but in some ways probably, but not, it wasn't like I was like, in turmoil or anything, but I could see how, wow, I felt released, man. Like, it was really awesome. So it's I think truly a cool stuff. And we're learning so much more these days about how we can affect our own psychology, our own subconscious. And I'm always looking, the subconscious mind is something that has always been highly intrigued with. It's almost like this sort of mystical sort of thing, but we know now it's not. So thank you again for being on the show, man. I'm going to have you on again over and over and over. We're going to do more talks. I really enjoyed this kind of stuff. Everybody knows I get really excited about talking about this shit. So, so thanks a lot, brother.
No problem. Thank you.
Handle your high with Tadayoshi.